Well, I'm so glad to have you on Beyond the Melanin. And I am excited that you're one of my very first guests because it's just only appropriate that I start with you because you're just you're just such an inspiration to me. And I'm not sure if you know how much. I'm not sure if you know how much you're an inspiration to a lot of people, but I know I can speak from personal experience that you just are a true light. You're on this planet for something bigger and better. And I think everyone can see it in you. And I feel like, when you're in the hustle of living day to day, you're a mom, you're a business owner, you're a nonprofit, you know, creator and running that show, that you forget sometimes how bright your glow is to other people. So I'm just going to put it out there. Thank you, sister, for glowing for me and others. So I wanted to start at the beginning and just get to know you and just talk about your story and put it out to the world. Why
Okay,
not?
anyways. Abibat Durosimi. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. Moved to the Northwest, Portland, Vancouver area, and pretty much was raised here. Um, First generation Nigerian, and yeah, both my parents are Nigerian. It's weird too because when I came to Chicago to Portland, it was still the area that we lived in was like pretty much like a melting pot,
Right.
and the apartments that we lived in was just like all it was like a little African atrium.
That's a good way to put it.
And you had, Nigerians, like all of that.
I was
But
curious
then
what like just spurred your parents to move from Chicago to the Pacific Northwest, because that's a huge move. First of all, that's across the country, and second of all, it's completely different cultures. So
man,
what like inspired them? What was going on there?
I had a relative that lived out here, and
Okay.
that the community that he was in was a great community for to raise us.
Yeah.
And places in Chicago was getting more expensive, and of course, just like how general gentrification happens,
Yes.
the general area that it's not safe. To take a train. It was a 3-day train ride to
Wow.
Oregon,
So
and
what did your parents do for a living? I mean, first of all, what did they do for a living? And second of all, was it easy for them to find work when they moved you guys?
of them were both in the medical field. So my mother is a nursing assistant, and
Okay.
my father was also in the pharmaceutical. So they both worked at major hospitals and whatnot. So the transition wasn't that hard for them.
Okay, so now we have you as a little third grader with a name like Abibat
Yeah.
Durosimi, and we're going to the Pacific Northwest, which is clearly white, a majority. How was your experience in school when you were that young?
I moved like to Vancouver when I was about going into third grade.
Okay,
It was more of a like a shock,
yeah,
because I'm the only person of color, well, black woman, black girl, in my grade. Like I always gravitated to kids that looked like me.
right.
Then also it was hard for me because I didn't have like a fellow Nigerian, girl to
Yeah,
be is the culture difference makes a difference too as well. Little kids can
right.
be mean, call you all kinds of names, like African booty scratcher and like all
Oh
that. And
my
I'm like,
God,
what is that?
I don't.
It's one of those things that's like, I've never been a mean girl. I was always, come be my friend, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Where my parents would be like, listen, you going to school, there's no you have your friends, you got your family, and that's what kind of sheltered me a little bit more. Just
Okay.
trying to feel accepted. But time went on where I did just gravitated to my sister and to my family, and that's what kind of kept me pretty much safe,
Did it get better, Aviva, as you got older in school, or did it get harder, do you think?
I think just adjusting every
Mhm.
year. Adjusting every year, and every year there'll be one more, person of color that will join.
Okay.
So here I am going to middle school, and we will have this like little click. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
took some time. It just took some time, and for me, always been a busy girl. Like I was always in the arts. I love to draw. I love to just kind of throw myself in my imagination. I like to write.
Yes.
I read a lot. Like I even like did competitions like the marching
Mm.
dimes where you give back to cerebral palsy kids by reading so many different books and
Yeah.
raise money for them and all that stuff. And I
Wow.
was awards for that. And wow, I feel like I'm going back to like my scrapbook. I'm like,
Yes.
and all that stuff. Like I was really into just trying to be within my community and my school, adapt to being a person of color in a school. So I would, build up like Black Student Union, I'll be part of that, or a minority group or
Yeah.
something. I love to dance, so we'll put together little dance groups, and I started to slowly kind of build up my tribe.
Kind of going all the way back to your Nigerian roots. It's very cultural in a way, just to have that surrounding of the people who are familiar, that kind of it takes a village philosophy of succeeding. Were you one of the ones to start the groups, like or were you just joining groups?
I think I was the one who kind of started the conversation.
Okay.
In the seventh grade, I always having to go to my counselor, and luckily my counselor was, I can't remember, started with, I call him Mr. G, and
Okay.
it was like he had to be 60. He was this tall, slender, white, older gentleman with a long white beard and long
Wow.
thicky
Very
beard.
Gandalf.
Amazing because he made me feel, beautiful in my own skin if I got people or teasing me, or if I felt some type of way with a teacher or whatnot. He was
Yeah.
there to be my my guidance counselor and just help me through it all. And I was just blessed meeting, I will say, mentors,
Yeah.
and it was always teachers that saw this light in me that will just pour into me. And so that's what along with my family, that's what kept me going. I had
Right.
no problem talking to anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was always into a lot of different things. Like I will be like a what would you call those PA assistants for the teachers and stuff like that.
Yes, I was one of those too.
I would do history. I was really big in history because that didn't reflect learning American history did not reflect what my history was, right?
Right.
That I knew of. Like as a Nigerian, so all I knew was, what it was like back home and how we were. We were warriors and queens. Like it was one of those things where when I got introduced to American history, I was like, what? Like, and the way they had it in the books, it just sounded so sweet. And I was like,
Mhm.
y'all stole a full blown country. Like it was backwards to me and it was confusing to me. And thank God I never let people try to tell me who I was. And that was a blessing. Like my parents always remind me, like, Nigerian, own up to it, you're beautiful,
Yeah.
this you are, do your best in school and succeed as much as you can.
Your own self.
I
Yeah.
mean, so
Within that experience of starting to learn about American history, um, did you have like were you able to go to that same counselor, Mr. G, or did you have any kind of other adult Black influence in your life at the time besides your parents?
I didn't. I really like
Okay.
have any African American friends I was close to that. I mean, my parents would have, friends and whatnot, but it was not one of those things that I was scared because the
Right.
time I mean, when you really get to history is in elementary school, of course, and it's like first they give you the holidays, right? The
Yeah,
president, like that's how they introduce you to it, right? And
that's
then
right.
like I don't know, one day maybe it's because we just probably claimed Black History Month, and you can forgive me when that was, but like I don't know, it was just that feeling where like we're gonna show roots, and then like show you where you came from, and I'm like I'm 8 years old, and I'm just like
Wow.
traumatized, and mind you, we're like in an auditorium, it's third grade,
Really?
sixth graders,
And they
we're
played Roots?
roots, girl, roots, and I was like.
Hmm.
It was violent, so I was really surprised that they would,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was very taken back with that. I was just like scared. Because the thing about it was is that all the other students who were white will look at me differently. They treated me different afterwards watching.
How so? Because I was just about to ask you that because I thought, okay, if you're like the one black kid or a very few at this time, seventh grade, right, ish, or no, you were 8. You were very young when you watched Roots. So so they're all turning to you. You're also a baby, but did they ask you questions or did they just like treat you different?
Well, they asked me questions. Some people asked me questions, and I was like, "Listen, both my parents are Nigerian, so I don't know nothing about this.
Right.
I will give them my truth." Remember when I was in 5th grade, I was 10 years old. We went to Nigeria to show them what Africa looked like. And I remember I couldn't wait. I had a whole, scrapbook. I had my little journal that I kept, and it was in 5th grade. I was like show and tell, and I'm like, boom, this is Africa. And they're like, that just looks like a city. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we have forests, we got beaches, we have cities, we got cars, we got buildings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were like, what? So there's no, giraffes or lions and tigers and bears.
Yeah.
Like we have that, but that's not what all of Africa is about.
No.
And of course, in our reality was whatever shown on TV, whatever
Yep.
books. And a lot of it was like encyclopedias or a National Geographic, where they would show the nature of
Right.
Africa, right?
Right.
Show the tribes in Africa, like, oh, what, you guys wear clothes? Oh my God. You're like, yes,
Right.
damn it.
Yeah. Don't walk
I was
around.
really proud of myself that I was able to share that with them. And we'll receive it, right? And
Yeah.
some won't, because I remember this time. His name was Foon Wayne Wong, but it was like that's his last name, right? He was
Okay.
just,
Yeah.
I don't know how we got in an argument, but all I remember was telling me to go back
Oh. Oh.
home. And I was like, you can go home too.
Yeah.
But the sad part about it is that how children will just take whatever what they hear and how they
Yeah.
say people and for it to hurt people's feelings,
Yeah.
and not understanding where that comes from. And that was the thing that I couldn't really understand is like how people can be so ignorant and teach their children,
Yeah.
and it was hard for teachers because all the teachers I had was white.
Yeah.
I never had a black teacher. Like,
Wow. You're like, hello, anybody? No, nobody?
it was just one of those things where I was just like, I was used to it. Right?
Right.
This is America. This is supposed to be a melting pot in certain areas, but it is what it is. Right?
Right.
My reality is so all I have to do is to adapt to it. You
Right.
know?
And I think that's what a lot of people of color, but a lot of black people do. They adapt, right? You adapt to your surroundings. Your like, I mean, that's exactly what I did when I was growing up in Montana. I just was different looking, I mean, people couldn't pinpoint what I was, and that's what they didn't like. And so then I just took on style really early because of that. I actually used it as a defense, not defense, as kind of a cloak. And I was just like, well, I'm just going to be the weird one. I'll just wear the weird stuff. I'll be the crazy one and I'll just do all this stuff. And then everybody just knows me as that person. And then they felt okay with me doing that. I made them at ease. And I feel like that's what a lot of black people do, and especially white cultures make them feel at ease. And oh God, it was some actor I was watching a couple weeks ago that talked about that. God, who was it? Was it Jamie Foxx? Some very famous act. Oh no, it was Dave Chappelle. And he said, the first thing I have to do when I walk into a Hollywood meeting is make everyone feel at ease. He said that. The first thing I have to do is make this whole room of white people feel at ease. And I just remember thinking, holy shit, that's it all the time. And you're so young, like you're saying, you learned it when you were in 3rd grade, how to adapt.
You can smile and let them know that you are friendly. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
hey, how are
Like show
you?
your teeth, or, like you're in the wild or something.
And never complain. Never complain.
God forbid.
And just, do your work, do well. Like I've always been the
Yeah,
type of
keep your head down.
boards or, be, some type of achievement,
Right.
because that was the only way for me to stand out. So I always had my fingers in everything. I was in the office. I let them know who I was. You know what I mean? Like I was not going to be the one in trouble and getting hemmed up by the the school
Mm,
security guards. You know what I mean? 'Cause
no.
you're there for
So,
that.
so Aviva, with that, with just having that kind of instinctual feeling to have to adapt and knowing kind of how to get by and get through in a smart way, navigating school, especially high school, I would assume too. Was there any residual feelings that you had that you couldn't share, like just being upset or sad, or just like any other human would feel? Did you find a place for that? Were you able to express it somewhere?
And that was like my guidance counselors.
Okay.
It was that, or I would wrote in my journal.
Do you still write in your journal? Have you done that for years?
Yeah, it's on and off depending, my
Sure.
how busy I am. But like, yeah, if there's some stuff I need to just, hash
Get
out,
out.
I have caught myself a couple years ago reading one of my old diaries when I was like in middle school, and
Wow.
I would get bullied by black girls, and
Really?
will come in. I was always about style too. I loved it. I love
Yeah.
polka dot print. I
Yeah.
love just anything that I saw on TV. If I could get it, I was gonna get it. If that was possible, I was about to
Yeah.
dress. It was put together. You know what I mean? My
Yeah.
hair done, all that. And there was girls that wasn't. I was comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
Sisters that did not. They weren't. And so
Right.
my friends were. I mean, I had a rainbow of friends, but it was not until I was in my 20s when I was able to befriend another black woman, dark skinned black woman, that
I was
matter.
right now, as you're talking about other black girls judging you as well and being bullied by them as well. Do you feel that it was also about your shade and about your tone of how black you were? Do you feel that you were also bullied for that? Because I know that is a significant and real problem with black women, that even it's like, don't be too dark, don't be too light. I mean, even a very tonal issue that resides within the race. So do you feel that was part of it?
I think it was very like unspoken. It was just like it was done, low key done.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the one that people want to take me out like to prom or whatever. You know what I
Ugh,
mean?
I don't know how that's possible. You're gorgeous.
But then also too, I was a really thickums too. I was
Well,
yes.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But a lot of it was stress. It was just stress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like having to, just kind of be within yourself and being okay to be within yourself.
Yeah.
I would be in the computer room writing my stories and all that stuff, or I would be drawing or whatever in between, like, breaks, or lunch breaks or whatever. Uh,
Okay.
I didn't have like a bestie until I was like in ninth grade, and
Okay.
still friends to this day. You
Now,
know,
what race was your bestie?
he was biracial. Just like you, everybody thought that she was probably like Hispanic or anything,
Yeah.
but we really connected. And and that was like my first like best friend.
Cool.
I was 14, 15 years old. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was crazy. And ever since then, like, we both had each other's
I
back,
mean,
but
and
we
that's
both
what's
were
interesting about kind of finding somebody that you connect with. Do you feel like you connected with Nikki because you were of two different races, or were there just things you had in common? Like, how'd you even meet Nikki?
so if I ran out of, my lunch money or whatever, I will
Yeah.
go line of like, hey, do you got like or whatever, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
She was there and she would always give me like her tea, you know?
Okay.
And yeah, it was crazy. She was just naturally giving person. And I noticed that she would just sit by herself. And I'll come by and give her a gift, just back and forth.
Yeah.
We just start hanging out. We just start hanging. We both love fashion. We both love music, the same type of music, R&B, hip hop. Hair, makeup, nails, all that.
You're just into the same stuff.
Like, yeah, and gossip and all stuff. All that girly stuff that we
Oh
do.
yeah, all the little teenage stuff. Okay, so now you've got your friend group, you're into high school, and you've decided to switch gears from playing in the band flute, very Lizzo of you, or Lizzo is very you, let's just say that. And then you go towards track and field. So what was that hop about? I mean, that's kind of a big jump, going from like music entertainment to straight up athlete.
Gaining weight every year.
Okay. And do you feel that was because of stress, Abibat, like just
Just really, yeah,
emotional
love
eating?
emotional eating, you know,
Okay.
and just sweet stuff was good. But
Okay.
I remember having to take a test, right, for PE. And
Mm.
I saw how much I weighed, and I was like, Jesus, many of these girls looked at me like,
Of course, it's always public, right? Of course, they put you on the scale in front of everybody.
exactly, and at that time I didn't really um realize how big I got. You know what I mean? Like, all my friends just saw me for who I was, and it was just kind of like, I just
Yeah.
grew up. So that's the reason why I threw myself into doing track and field. I took a weightlifting class. That was
Oh,
one
wow.
I wanted to take in my senior year. And the teacher there, he was like, "Hey, I am a shot put coach. I will love you're strong, and I will love for you to, be on our team." I was
That's
like,
cool.
"Okay, cool." So I did it, and I actually won state. I got to state. I was throwing 40 over
Woo!
1 feet.
Woo!
And yeah, I was loving it. I loved it. That was my only event. I couldn't get discus down, but I was able to go to Clark to do my first year and be on their track team as well. And I did hammer when hammer was finally introduced to women, and
Wow.
and so that was where my journey of wellness started.
Yes.
I lost like over 100 pounds between
Whoa.
my half of my senior year to beginning of my college year. It was just like eating habits. I was taking dietary classes, and just
Yeah.
like teaching classes and stuff like that. And yeah, it was something I really threw myself into, and I liked the results that I was having because I felt a lot better. I wasn't sluggish. I could think clearly. In high school at the time, I mean, like your snacks were just fries, cookies, you know,
Yeah.
burgers, fries. Like, I mean, if you had a salad bar that was like maybe it came out like maybe twice a week or something like that.
Yeah. And even the salads were sugar,
Yeah.
like had sugar in them because they had to be preserved, right? So I remember my senior year of high school, like it was like the year they all started to partner with fast food chains. So we had McDonald's in there, Pizza Hut, all that. So it just, and then it up leveled. So it's like way worse than your little tray of food that's slopped out. I mean, now we're into like heavy calories and stuff. And
Yes.
it's just such a beacon of light, like when you walk in there, you're like, I can go to McDonald's and you feel so, like, yeah, you feel so special. And you're like,
Right, because most of the time your parents had to take you to go and get those.
exactly. And like, you can do it yourself now.
I'm grown. I'm about to give me that 2 slices of cheese
That's
pizza.
so you took that initiative all on your own though? I mean, was there I mean, that's impressive to me because usually it's the parents pushing you or someone that pulls you aside and goes, we need to talk.
Yeah, I had a relative that was always on. It had a name for me. He was like anything goes. That was the
Right.
that was the name. Like I eat whatever and however I want. And there was this moment I remember because we would go and visit them during the summer,
Right.
and this is actually like my senior year, right?
Okay.
Going to my senior year, and it was like this dinner for his job or whatever for his birthday. But he had people from his job there and all that stuff. And
Okay.
order, he makes a comment, and it got to a point. It was like very embarrassing to a point where like I didn't want to eat at all. And so right there and then, I was going to show him. Literally, the next time I saw him that next summer, I was already losing weight, and he was like, "You got
Right.
what happened?" Like, "Yep." And that was like my motivation, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it was like I wanted to show and prove that it's like, it's not there's more to me than my weight. But then at the same time I knew that I was feeling unhealthy. I was always in pain, at
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And I wanted to be healthy,
Yeah.
my way of just trying to do that. So that's what I did. That's what I did. And I loved every minute of it because when I was in Park, I was able to meet other people that was either similar to me that used to
Yeah.
be lost weight and was pushing themselves forward. I ended up having my second family with my teammates, and
Oh, cool.
and the weight room was the spot, so you see
Yeah.
all the players, like all that. So I was like in this mode, and I loved it. I loved feeling strong, and I love being around people that felt, who was about
Yeah,
succeeding
I
and
wanted to go
right.
back for a minute too. I know, like you were saying, you're kind of an emotional eater, but Nigerian culture, what kind of food is presented to you? And is was that part of it? Like just kind of learning how to kind of culturally eat and not and
Yeah.
also be healthy? Was that kind of part of it? Or
The thing about it is when you back home, there obviously there's certain we. Okay, let me give you like the main ingredients or main
yeah,
staple.
yeah.
So fruit, grains, and if it was any protein, it would be goat meat and chicken and egg and
Okay.
poultry. When you come back here and it's not the same ingredients here, you adapt to it, right?
Right.
We'll make it was called eba, right, or farina, right, which it was a plant or
Okay.
right, and here she will get biscuit and potato flakes to mimic and the taste and the texture. So eating that, eating rice, white rice, like and my parents always worked too. So like when we got home, the easiest thing for us to cook was rice.
Rice.
And it wasn't like jasmine rice or
Brown rice.
yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
all that conventional white rice, starchy. All that. Trying to be able to adapt to eating habits in America, like you said, McDonald's,
Hmm.
all that. That was big. That was huge.
Oh
So
yeah.
is is a major factor in America's lifestyle.
Sure.
Like
And it was really big in the 80s and 90s, it's like when we were younger, that was the thing. I mean, it was at the height. I feel like at the real height of that's what you do and and you're also thinking in a young state of mind. You're usually able to eat a lot more and consume a lot more that's bad for you because you're young and your body can process it. So then when yeah, the second you realize, oh, I'm growing up and my body's not processing it the same, that's becomes the conflict. Here's the question. So when you started to train, I'm sure that was a diet in itself just to train.
yeah.
Um, but also knowing that you wanted to get healthier and stronger, did your parents like go with you on that journey? Did they like or did you have to start kind of making your own meals separate from the family or did they
I
kind
was
of get on board? How did that go?
Yeah, I'll definitely will make my own meals separate from my family because
Okay.
my parents was always supportive of me, regardless of
Cool.
how big I wanted me to be happy,
Yes.
right? And they're like, they will check whoever family member, but then at the same time, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Anything, it was me, it was me, and then I had my girl Nikki. She was right on the bandwagon with me.
All right.
We're both were little thickums, and we were like,
Let's
ooh,
do it together.
we're together. Come on, we got this. That was a blessing too on its own. You have
Yes.
where you can do that with.
Yeah, to have that partner in crime with something like that and someone else to motivate you that's outside of your family is awesome because they're on the same journey. So between you and Nikki, because you were so similar in like fashion and style and pop culture music, were there influences that you were seeing in the pop in pop culture like out there that you were kind of like, oh, I'd love to look like her or I want to dance like her or be like her that helped
It was called
motivate?
like the very first Friends, and it was called Living Single.
Oh,
And it was,
it's in my queue right now. Thank you very much.
okay, Kim Fields from
Yeah.
where? What movie? She was like a '70s TV show kid, Kim Fields,
Yes, she was.
and then and then all the other amazing people in the cast.
Yeah,
And
Kim Fields is from Facts of Life.
Facts of
Yeah.
Life.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
I, for one, looked up to Queen Latifah because she was like the similar stature as me. I mean, even though
Right.
I was like she had, but she had a similar stature. She was beautiful. She was able, she was dating. You know what I mean? Like she had
Right.
business. Like she was just a true entrepreneur, and she had this swag, and like she just knew who she was. And
Yep.
I love that about her. And so I would try to exude, the character that she played. You know, and just even the way that she had her hair done.
Yeah.
I had me like a long, relaxed,
Seriously.
long hair. You know what I mean? I would bump it, curl it on the curls, all that stuff. Like,
Oh yeah.
loved it. I was all about UNITY when she came out with the new album and everything like that. I was all about Unity like
Yeah.
one. And then Big Les, who was the choreographer, one of the dancers that was doing in the beginning. I don't know if
Right.
y'all, but
Yeah.
those are two black women that I saw that looked like me and that I was able to like, reach out. Like when BET started coming out, you was able to see people that looked like yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember at the time before that we had this one, it was like on cable, right? You had to like pay money to watch these music videos and, call them and all that stuff, right?
That's right.
Oh my God, it's so easy to pick up music now. Like, oh, I'm gonna go to YouTube.
I know, it's right there, like, yeah, at our fingertips.
Everything that was, showcasing was all in New York. That's what I gravitated to. Like, I love the whole New York hip hop, the underground, music, like, soul music, like all of that.
Yeah.
And of course, then the West Coast came through, and then we had Snoop Dogg, we had Dr. Dre,
Yeah, started to represent.
right? And yeah, but I was definitely all about the East Coast hip hop though.
So, yeah, I just feel like that Chicago side of you didn't go anywhere, just, like, carried you through. But, when you think when you talk about, like, just being drawn to the East Coast and drawn to that energy and the style and the music, everything, were you, like, shown that at some point along your journey of growing up, or did you just discover it and go, "I like that"?
It was like my family friends.
Okay, family, friends.
They'll be listening to hip hop
Mhm.
and all that stuff. That's how I knew. I was like, "Ooh, I can go to Portland," because I lived in Vancouver. So I was like, "I'm going
Right.
to find out some more black culture." You know what I mean? I saw that. Like that's the only way I was able to exude any of it. We had like play cousins that who were older than me or had like tape cassettes from like DJ Quick. Oh my God! Which reminds me, my sister started playing that like yesterday. Was running some errands. I was like, "Oh my God, I'll see you tonight." But let me tell you this quick story though. So
Yes.
my cousin, she was like, "Oh, I'm listening to DJ Quick." We heard like, "Okay, listen." Now DJ Quick is this hip hop rapper who
So,
was on the raunchy side. Okay,
okay.
18 years old, but he was raunchy, and so God, girl, he had this one song called Black Pussy. Okay,
Oh, he
and
went real raunch.
real raunch, but it was like this ode to black women,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
each of them, right? Like it was just, but I loved it because I was just like, "Oh my God." So she gives me the cassette and I leave it in the cassette tape in my dad's car. So the next morning when he goes takes us to school,
No.
in that play.
No.
Black music. I was like,
No.
dying, like, I'm just like seeing like I'm in the back seat looking at my dad like, what he gonna do? And he was like, what is this man? He could not get the cassette.
Of course, the classic like movie scene where he's like,
He ripped that thing to shreds and chucked it out of the window. I'm like,
oh, oh, that is so funny. That is so funny. It's like just like a classic movie scene, where it's like, oh, the buttons and it's like just playing louder.
what kind of mess are you listening to? I'm like, Dad, was playing now, and like yeah, it was something else. But he was like, when you were living in the Northwest, you craved all that, like all that
Right.
that's not around you, or something that your parents was trying to tell you to get away from because that was dangerous. Like I always thought that
Mm,
things were like just people. I mean, I didn't know the beginning of the reasons for gangs. You know what I
right,
mean? I didn't see
right.
that as a way for them protecting their community at first. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Later in life when I understood exactly what really happened and why we were creating, gangs and stuff like
Yes.
that.
It's true.
Like movies that even showed about black people was always us killing each other
Yeah.
or stuff. Like you just didn't see nothing positive
Right.
unless you TV. And the only thing you saw positive was like the Cosby shows, Different World. Only television was able to give you that softer tone or that brighter side of what a black family is supposed to be
Right.
and what it
Right.
looks like. And that's where I got my more knowledge of like black history, watching Bill Cosby show, watching the different world.
No.
You know what I mean? I,
Yeah.
I mean, I was very grateful that we still had black, influences through television and the arts.
Oh
That
yes.
you was able to get to know who you were. I felt like, man, like if I was able to create and take whatever I knew and put it into some whatever form that people can adapt to or absorb,
Yes.
I wanted to do. I mean, I was always that go-to where people would tell me their problems. I always had this advice. You know what I mean? Like knowing that I didn't really have like life experiences, but just by me, watching TV or just feeling like I just knew something. Like,
Yes.
I was just oracle all the time. Like I was just people just knew and to just come to me and
Yeah.
so I just took that with me, you know. So when I went to college, I mean, I honestly went there for business marketing, and it was not until going to my second year where I felt like I wanted to. I've always been into hair. Okay, I've always been
Okay.
since I was like 3 years old. My sister's hair. I was ready.
Now,
I
what
was
what
always
do you think? What do you think that was about? Did you see? Do you remember like your first memory of like maybe seeing some hair or somebody with a hairstyle that you were like, yeah, I want to try that, and you just were mesmerized as a little kid, or it just was in you?
I was jealous of my sister's hair. That's what
Okay.
my sister had
Okay.
beautiful.
The truth. Yes.
Mine was very forcey, kinky. Like I always had to get it pressed, whereas my sister, she never really had to get her hair pressed like
Oh
that.
wow.
So I remember she was getting her very first photo shoot at her, being 1 year old, right? So to your house, set up this whole set. Like I got a chance to see what this whole like production was about, right? And I'm just watching,
Yeah.
and she's just like she had this beautiful puffs and all that stuff, and I just, if I can recall, like I know I probably just snapped one of those puffs.
You did it for real?
I think so, yeah, because I don't know why, but most of all, I just love, seeing what it looked like after you got your hair done. Like even you had to sit
Yeah.
there, a couple hours on end, in between somebody's legs, wherever. You like
Yeah.
you look beautiful. I woke up looking brand new all the time, right? So
Yeah.
those things that are like I wanted to do that for somebody else. But as far as initially why I fell in love with it was just my sister had beautiful hair. She still does.
Yes.
So, but that's where my start as far as loving hair, and I've always been into it. Like always braiding my doll's hair. My cousin taught me how to do some cornrows when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
So I started practicing on my sister's hair. It was just something for me to do. I just wanted
Yeah.
like I always sketched, I always drew, I always like to copy, cartoons and stuff like that, and I
How
just drew
cool.
arts.
Yeah, yeah, you're just always being creative. Did you ever do hair on your friends at all or like different textures or different okay.
When I was like in junior high school, like in cheerleaders, dance
Oh
team,
yes, everyone needs their hair done.
braided, and I was just like always wanted to try just and so I knew how to do all textures of hair. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
by
okay, see.
not one. Be like, can you please braid my hair? Be like, can you, so that's what I did. That's what I did. It gave me that attention in a way. That's what made me felt special. Being able to give somebody this gift of mine and then making them feel good and looking good at the same
And then
time.
they and then you see them walk off feeling even better about themselves because of what you did. And that's
What did you have?
yeah, you're like, "Thank you. Yes, I did that." Okay, so as you're like loving her and doing that and that's cultivating into something, you're still now at Clark. And tell me where Clark is. It's Clark College, right?
It's in Vancouver, Washington.
Okay.
And it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, I got enough, and I was able to. I don't know. I wanted to transition. I feel like, oh, the people that I was friends with was now leaving, and I
Right.
wasn't really into it. I wasn't into, going to class, like having,
Yeah,
independent of myself to, to go to classes I didn't want to go and take, and I was paying for, or, you
that's
know,
right.
right. So I had a job too. I was always working. I was always multitasking. I was always okay,
That hasn't changed.
right? I was like, you know what? Let me just make some money right now. Let's take a break. I'm gonna go to beauty school. I'm gonna go to cosmetology school. And I told my parents, like, I'm just gonna want to go. I will go back to college after I get done.
Yeah.
That was like my whole spiel. And then I started working at a mental hospital. So I was doing what do you call it? More like inventory.
Okay.
I would create case cards for surgeries and stuff like that.
How'd you get that gig?
My father was working there.
Okay. I was like, you had the two medical parents. Gotcha. Okay.
Right? So that was a blessing too. So I was making some coins and I had insurance at 19. I was doing well. I had my own
That's a
car.
good place to be.
I was still living with my parents at the time,
Sure.
but I was living my best life. Like I mean, I had my own car. I would go out. I go to work and I go to school. And it was like boom, 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 boom. It was
Yep.
no rhythm for like 3 years until I decided to go back to school.
Okay.
I told my job that I wanted to go back to college. Can I transfer to a different? Because I was working um was a swing shift, and I wanted to go back to days so I can go to school at night.
Gotcha.
I went to union instead of granting my my what did I say I had I had seniority over there. So to
Yeah,
serve
yeah.
seniority over this girl, they decided to audit me and all that stuff. So it got to a point where they were comparing my cases with this girl who only worked 2 days out of the week. I felt like, I was well, it was totally unbalanced how they was, auditing me. So I went to union along with top of that, right? So I
Wow.
had cases against my manager, and somehow something happened. I messed around. I fell asleep because I was working in the swing shift. I was doing a lot.
Right. You were doing all the stuff.
Fired me.
Oh my God.
I like lost it. Like tears.
Oh yeah.
Like it's because of union, and like it was a lot.
Yeah.
At that time, I felt like I was sitting well, like I had my life like planned out, like how I was going to do it, and then all of a sudden, it just gets shut down.
Wow.
Could have fought it, but I was young then. My dad was like, "Listen, you know, it is what it is.
Battles.
And like, let's move on." I wasn't the type to really work at a salon at the time.
Right.
I tried it. It wasn't my working in at the time in Portland, and when you're a stylist and you know these people that you're working with, like you didn't grew up with them or you didn't go to the same beauty school, it was like a competition. It was always a competition.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of step away from all that drama. I went back fully in the corporate world and start working for small businesses, startup companies, learned how to be at that time I was still trying to build my clientele.
So were
So
you going back to college at that point too still? Like, did you go back and finish?
because
No, because all of that just put you in a tailspin.
because I had bills. I ran up a lot of bills. You know what I mean? When you're making money,
Yeah.
you get all these credit cards, and so I needed to continue working and
Yeah.
do hair for a job at the same time. I think my day when I decided to leave, I was working for a company, and it was one of those things where you work for 90 days and you on.
Yeah.
And it fired me because when the lady in this position ended up leaving, comes back in the middle of her vacation
Oh.
position. And at that time, I was actually going to be right because my 90 days was coming up. I was going to be promoted, and I was going to be a birth. Yeah, I remember she came in this red truck, and so I knew what kind of lifestyle she was just by her flag. Okay, so I remember she was supposed to show me certain things, and she made it sound like I was pretty much incompetent. Right. And it got to a point where they ended up having to let me go instead of promoting me. So after that, I was like, yo, I'm done. Like, I'm done. And, I was done, going to do these telemarketing companies that are like working for banks and getting cussed at, for asking for their payment and like all of that. Like people who knew my voice was black, I was going to get smooth cussed if I had somebody from down south on my bill.
Wow.
And it was a lot. It was a lot. And I was like, yo, I can't do this. And it was around the time where my sister ended up getting diagnosed with lupus. So
Wow.
I got really sick, and I felt that was my time to start taking care of her.
Yes.
It was like perfect timing. It was like I was fed up. I can start building up my clientele. I could start working at home. I was braiding hair. I
Right.
was like doing any chemicals and things like that. It was just all about braids, and so that's what I did. Took care of my sister, and left the corporate world behind on there and on.
And so at this point, you're what, 22,
I'm
23?
I'm about 24, 25.
So
Okay.
yeah, within that taking care of her, Aviva, what did that entail? Was she wasn't able to work? I mean, really, because I think a lot of people don't know what lupus is, first of all, and they don't know what what it does to you. So I would love for you to kind of you explain that just a little bit to understand, for people to understand really what that journey was like.
Once she was diagnosed with Graves' disease, thyroid, it goes hand in hand with your autoimmune system.
Right.
Medication that she had to take to keep her thyroid under control is what triggered her lupus.
Of course.
finding this out when we ended up meeting a doctor, and she was from India, and she had this conference, and me and my sister and we went there so we can have more of an understanding about what lupus was. And
Okay.
this, was found more so in people of color, and that how it can be triggered by your environment, or it can be triggered by chemicals, which is medication that
Yeah.
us. Or and it's not like a hereditary thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
It goes hand in hand. It was just one of the things that your body can just turn on you. And so basically what it was is that all your good cells, all your white cells that kills all your bacteria, right? And right, like all the it starts to attack your organs. Instead of
Mm,
attacking the bad
that's
cells
right.
or the germs and all stuff, it starts to attack your organs, your skin.
That's
Um,
for all the wrong things. Yeah.
all instead of making you feel better, it does the reverse.
Yeah.
Many different types of lupus that's diagnosed, throughout the years. It was one of those was the hardest one to find because it took them almost she was in the hospital for almost 2 months before they figured out what was wrong with her.
Wow.
Like in the bedridden, she was bedridden, all that stuff, in pain,
Mm.
constant, still giving her medicine, all that stuff, and it was not until later they found out that that was what was wrong with her.
What was going on?
So
And so do you
then
feel
I
it
had
that your whole journey with nutrition and food and taking care of yourself up into this point might have been a little bit of destiny because now did it come in handy with your sister? I'm assuming it would have.
yes, oh yes. I mean, my sister was very. I mean, she would do her own research at the same time, but she
Right.
definitely someone to go along with her. And so yeah, so I will make sure that like certain things that she can eat or depending on her blood type. Like there were just it was just so many things that I wanted to learn about nutrition and about how the way that we eat and how our body evolves, right? I think that being more in tune with my body, especially with knowing what Sariat was going through, I wanted to make sure that I was healthy enough to take care of her.
So with
Yes.
that, with finding out that diagnosis with your cis, I feel like that had to have. I mean, clearly, I mean, you just said like you were fed up over here. You had your cis over here to take care of, so it was a no brainer to go this way, and just really embrace the hairstylist in you and that journey of beauty school and what that could do for you. Um, Within that, though, Abibat, do you feel like that was just going to be temporary for you, or did you feel like this is my journey, hair journey, to be a stylist? Do you think that was kind of a moment where you did decide this is my passion, or were you still kind of just going, no, this can be good money while I stay home with my sister?
I think when she started to get better, and I find myself, being more independent,
Yeah.
and I didn't have anybody around me. I had my own place, I was a hustler. So my goal was, okay, I like to go out, right? And that's what I saw was going out with people that looked like me and they needed to get their hair done. So I would take my business cards with me, and I would meet people, right? So I was always about networking. I was dishing out my cards and like, hey, I do hair. Come to you. All that. And that's what made me stand out. A friend of mine, he said that he wanted to do kind of like a Love Jones like type of thing in Portland. And I was like, okay, I'm down. I'm all about meeting new people.
Good.
Be a way for me to build up my clientele. Like I'm all about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I became a promoter right along with him, right? So I will, and that's when I got to understand the Black community when it came to music. And so we'll have a live band, we'll have artists that will come down, we have poets that will come down, and it'll be a club atmosphere after midnight, and so people started to get to know who I was. And along the way, I my next bestie, Olivia Warfield.
Is
She
that her real name, Olivia?
Olivia.
Oh,
I'm like Olivia. So,
Olivia.
yeah, I remember watching her go up on stage, and she was this beautiful dark skinned sister, and she had we had a similar build. She was muscular, and like she comes in and she starts singing, and then she starts rapping, and then I'm like, who is she?
Who is this person?
And her voice was so clean and pure. And
Mm.
this soul, this funk, you know what I mean? It wasn't
Mhm.
it was like raw, but like pure at the same time. You know, she's like, oh, she's not a business person. She's like, oh, you do hair? Like, oh, I still need to get my hair done. You know, the last time this girl done got my blade splitting and everything, and I was like, yeah, I got you, no problem. And she made her appointment. She came over, and we clicked. We clicked. We were like,
And that's it from there. Isn't it cool that certain people in your life, you swear you've met them in another life? Like it's like you already know each other, you already know each other's background. Like it's all just like, we don't need to talk about it. We just already know each other. We can girl crush now. It's fine. It's good. Like it's just instant. It's an awesome feeling.
the thing what also came made it easy too because we both were from Illinois. She was from Peoria, Illinois, and I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
And that was like one of those things like, oh, okay, boom. You know, we're from the Midwest. Boom, here we are.
Yeah.
Skin sisters. We both love fashion and art and all this stuff. I mean, here she is, was like she was now finished with her first album, well, her second album.
Okay.
She was gonna go on this like mini tour, and so she was looking for somebody to style her. And she's like, "B-Man, you wanna come through? Like, wanna come with us?" It's just, you know, it was like 3 weeks, right? And
Yeah.
my parents was like, "What are you about to do?" You know, I'm like, "Oh, this is love." You know, like, okay, but you know, they're so used to me constantly working.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
at this point, so you're what, like at this point, then you're like 25, 26, or were you a little bit later than that?
26, 27.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and that's a good time because really as you're telling your story, I feel like there wasn't a lot of being young within that young period of time. I mean, to me, it sounds like you didn't party a lot. You didn't leave you don't, you didn't stray from your family unit too much. Then kind of in those years of taking care of your sister, you adulted up real quick. To me, those are the years you're that you would be going on tour for 3 weeks just for fun, and now it's like, okay, 27 is not old, but at the same time, you feel like you would have gone through that adventure period with yourself, and I feel like you didn't get that until later. So when you're meeting Liv, it's like you're ready to do
Right,
something for yourself.
right.
Yeah.
And like that, we definitely like poured into each other with that, right? I was always that girl that, you know, people want me to do their hair or do their makeup. Like whenever we step out, go to the club or whatnot, they're like, "People, can you do my makeup?" And, you know, she was the first one who gave me like my first makeup kit. She was like, "Hey, did you know that you can freelance?" Like, I mean, she knew this part of the world that I didn't.
Yeah.
All that was taught in cosmetology school was either you was working for a brand or you
Yeah.
had a salon or you was working for someone in the salon.
Right.
So I that wasn't my life. I wanted something different. You know, I couldn't
Yeah.
be. I wasn't always the one to be behind the chair all the time. I always wanted to do different things. So she gave me that that knowledge of like, hey, you know,
Yeah, you're capable of doing this, and you can. Isn't that funny how you can't think outside of the box until somebody opens the box, and then you're like, what, what's out here? It's just like, what, this is a whole new world, and that's so cool.
it's so funny too because it's like I remember my girl Nikki. She ended up giving me this book by first it was Kevin O'Cohen.
Oh yes.
I saw all his like masterpieces on all these celebrities, and he did all races, along with Janet Jackson and
Mm.
Mon. Then it was Sam Fine, who was
Mm.
the number one like black makeup artist at MAC. He was like that only one that knew how to do dark skinned women, and him being black, and him making sure that we look nice and soft, that was thin, that we had
Mhm.
all our features, you know, shown, you know, and that's where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna learn everything about makeup, you know.
So okay, so you're on tour with Liv.
Mhm.
It's on tour, right? She's touring the.
Yeah, she's pretty much she's on tour. She's getting her name out. She comes back and it just kind of stays still, right? You know, she was kind of through her transition.
Yeah.
I and I'm kind of going through my own transition, trying to figure
Right.
out so what to do now. You
What's
know, watching behind the scenes, like for BET, like her world, I was like, okay, I need to create a portfolio. Like she can't be my only portfolio, you know what I mean? So I went on
oh
modelmayhem.com.
oh yes.
Model Mayhem was a network for models, photographers, videographers, all of that.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is how I'm gonna figure out what to do and like get known as far as being a makeup artist and like be in magazines, get published. Like
Yeah. So you're building up the makeup side of your career along with the hair side? Because I feel like the hair side was a little bit more on lock, and then you kind of then makeup kind of followed in suit, right? And then do you feel like you kind of got that confidence by doing hair and makeup for Liv? Like when you came back, you were like, I got it. And now I can work on other people more.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. She was like, doing photo shoots and all that stuff. So I can see what it looked like being transcended through a person and then through the camera, right? And and by me being a promoter and like doing the Love Jones, I met other people in the industry. Like I also met other photographers who
Right.
photos. So my girl Adrian Adele, she was the first one to take photos of me. It's crazy. I don't know how this happened. I met this girl. I'm trying to remember how I met her, but she was a model. She was a plus size model. Her name was
Okay.
Sharonda. Oh, I did her makeup for her wedding. And that's how she found me. It was through Adrian Adele. Anyway, she was like, "There's a new agency that's coming to Portland, Oregon. They're coming from LA, and it's called Option Model and Media, and they're looking for plus size models. And I think you'd be great." I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Adrian should take your photos. Like your photos are amazing." And in that whole process with Liv, taking a break and trying to figure out where her next move was, to me trying to transcend into being a freelance and makeup artist alone. And so that means I wasn't making as much money as I was. Like I really was like I had to go back home with my parents,
Yes.
and just swallow up my pride. At this time I'm like 28, 29,
Okay. Yeah.
about to be 30. Right? My parents are looking at me sideways because all of a sudden I'm about to be 30 and I got no job. You know what I mean? Like
Go
that's
to home. Yeah.
I don't I don't have nothing. Okay.
Right.
And I had this window. And in that process, in that window, I ended up meeting my kid's father and style and all that stuff. And so we had a lot of stuff in common.
Okay.
And it happened really quick because I ended up having my daughter as, within 6 months of our relationship.
Ooh.
When I was pregnant, yes. We moved in together. I had my daughter. Time went on. I was still doing like portfolios and whatnot. I was still
Yeah.
doing being mobile, having people come to my home to braid their hair and whatnot. Liv at the time, she was still doing her tours and stuff like that. So I will meet up with her whenever I can.
Right.
Then she had a time in life where she had to either stop singing and doing whatever else she wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
in type of retail or whatever. She loved fashion herself.
Yeah.
She was gonna push on. So she had this incident where she went down south and she was doing a tour for all the HSBC black colleges, right?
Yes.
And she met one of Prince's background singers. And at that time, she was going to transition, and she was looking for somebody to replace her. And sent Prince like all her like YouTube videos she had and
Yeah.
shit
All the videos.
like that. And boom, she got chosen. Like she was like, "Yep, I'm working for Prince." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, I'm happy for her. I'm like, "Oh my god, I wish I can come with you. I'm so happy for you." All this other stuff.
Yeah.
She's transcending, and here I am. I have my daughter's about to be 2 years old. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out what my next move is, right?
Passes. Yeah. And were
But
you
I'm
still living
my
with your okay, so you're still with your guy and you're still okay, now you've got a daughter. Okay. So yeah, you're feeling pretty like I feel like you feel like you're pretty stuck at this point, and then your friend over here is just like all of a sudden gonna live this life.
yes, yeah.
And I mean, I guess that is a call from the universe for her though, where she's like, I'm gonna go this way or that way. And the universe is like, you're going that way. And
And
decided
for me, I was like, okay, Abibat, I was starting to build up my own like beauty products, and I was just really throwing myself in this whole entrepreneurship. And
yeah.
then she ends up calling me one day, and she was like, "Abibat, are you ready to work?" I was like, "Girl, please, I'm always ready to work. What are you talking?"
Yeah. You
She's like, "No, you ready to work because P is looking for somebody who can do both, and I recommended you. Are you ready?"
should
I was like,
as in the prince, 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 prince.